I'm in Shenandoah National Park, and this is the parking lot for the Dean Family Cemetery. This is about mile marker 63. There's my little red car. Up there, Skyline Drive. And you go down this little access road here down to the Dean Family Cemeteries down that way. If I have time, I'll go down there when I'm done and get a couple of shots. That's a real nice cemetery that's being well maintained by the families. I'm going to head over this way though and start down the side of this mountain here looking for an old road and maybe even a couple of homesteads down this way. This hollow over here is called Hensley Hollow. The elevation here is 2,900 feet. Up there's the Dean Cemetery, and but I'm going to head off into the woods down this way and start heading down into this hollow and see if I can find the old road. A tenth of a mile into my hike, I'm down to 2850, and this is starting to look like the remains of an old road. Maybe it's an old wagon road or old trail, and this looks like it's in about the right spot according to my GPS. So I'll follow this down into the hollow for a ways and see what we find, if anything. Three-tenths of a mile into my hike, I'm down to 2,800 feet, descending into the hollow here. Down that way is the drainage, and I veered off to the right and came up here looking around some because one of the old maps from like 1939 showed that there was a homestead over here in this area, so I'm looking around. Now there's a pile of rocks. So, and then here's another little pile of rocks. This is within about 200 feet or so of where the 1939 map showed a dwelling. So I'm just going to look around over here some and see if I see anything else, and then I'll probably keep heading on down into the hollow for a ways. Well, I'm standing in a location where the old map indicated that there was a homestead. I don't really see anything except there is this pretty large hole in the ground here. With, I guess, some of the dirt piled up there. So I don't know if this was associated with the homestead or not, but it is in the right spot. Now from here the mountain starts getting pretty steep again, heading back down into the hollow. Here's what it looks like here, which is about a 45-degree angle here, and it gets even steeper down there. So I don't know. The only thing I can find is this is a pretty good sized hole in the ground. Now sometimes when big trees blow down, they uproot the earth, but if that was a tree, it would have to have been an awful big one. And where is it if it blew down? So that could have been associated with the homestead right there. I'm getting ready to cross over the drainage. The homestead location I was looking for is up there, so but I came down here and getting ready to cross over the drainage because my map is telling me that the rest of this road or trail is over here on the other side. But right here next to the drainage is some, first I thought those were pieces of paper, but they're not. They're part of some sort of an enamel colored pot. So it's kind of an interesting pattern. Not much left of it. I haven't crossed over the drainage yet because I looked up and I saw this. Now this looks like rocks piled up to form the edge of a driveway. See how flat that is right there, going down there? So that might have been the driveway. I'm going to hop up on there and just follow that down a little ways and see if it goes anywhere. But that looks a lot like an old driveway. Okay, well I crossed over the drainage. There's drainage there. There's another piece of it over there. Over that way is that part that I showed you that was level with rocks. That's definitely, I explored that a little bit. That's definitely some kind of a turnoff driveway, or maybe even another road that heads that way, but that's not the way I want to go. So I crossed over the drainage and now I'm going to look around for the trail that continues on down this way into Hensley Hollow. Six-tenths of a mile into my hike. I'm down to 2690. That's the way I'm headed. I'm having a real hard time picking up the road up that ways the way I came from. And there's a pretty substantial zone right in through there that's pretty swampy and drainy and wet until maybe you can see down that way the hollow starts to become fairly well defined and steep. This might be the road right here, so I'm going to follow this for a ways. I mean, it is according to my GPS, but sometimes they're off a little bit, but this might be it. Okay, well I'm still following along here, descending into the hollow. Maybe you can see about the middle of the screen, it looks like, see how it looks like it's dished out underneath those blown down trees? So that's, I was just looking back the other way. Yeah, right there in the middle of the screen, that's the way it's dished out. That might be it. And I'm still tracking the map on my GPS. Nine-tenths of a mile into my hike, I'm down to 2530. I've been tracking along a little high on the mountain because of the hiking conditions, but I decided I'm getting close to where another homestead was supposed to be. Let's see, I'm within about 300 feet of it. So I dropped back down and Here's, I think I found the trail. Here's rocks on this side, and there's the trail. And here, whoops, and almost fell down. And here's rocks on the other side. And coming down from where I came from. So I think I'm back on the trail. So I may try and just stay on the trail from here on if I can. But you can see I can't go straight because of the blowdown. So I'll have to swing wide and then try and pick it up again. Yeah, see, I just went around the brush below it, and now if you look, you can see, maybe you can see the rocks where they piled them up on the low side going that way. So hopefully I can just follow the rocks the rest of the way down, but we'll see. Now over here somewhere is where there was supposed to be another homestead. My GPS says I got another 250 feet to go, so I'm going to follow this road for the 250 feet and then see if I can see anything. One mile into my hike, the elevation here is 2,500 feet. That's where I came from. I'm standing at point A on my map, waypoint A. You'll see it when I do the map talk. This is point A, plus or minus. And I've lost the road a couple of times, but here's the rocks lining the side of the road right here. And maybe you can see it's dished out a little bit under that big blown down tree, heading off in this direction. And that's going in the right direction. After at point A, the road takes a bend to the left. So I'm going to head off this way now. Keep descending into the hollow. .2 miles into my hike. The elevation here is 2,500 feet. And I'm tracking along, following the road fairly well now. That's the way I'm headed. And I'll just do a 360. This is looking down into Hensley Hollow, like way down into Hensley Hollow. There's another hike I took, I think I called it Hensley Hollow, where I hiked down there. I think I followed it either all the way down to the park boundary or close to it. Back this way is the way I came. That mountain up there in the middle of the screen is the up there's the Dean family cemetery where I started. Skyline Drive's way up this way. I can hear cars up there. And so I'm just going to keep following this. This has been pretty rough hiking too. I think when I get down here to the end, I'm just going to look for a way to get back up on Skyline Drive and loop back like I did in my last hike. Right here, the mountain's got a big fold in it, so it's going to take a bend to the right. 1.2 miles into my hike. The elevation here is still 2,500 feet. And that's where I came from. And this is the fairly sharp bend in the road here. The mountain's got a big fold in it here and causing some drainage down through here. And then the road takes off in that direction. So this is waypoint B on my map. So I think this area here is where one of the homesteads was probably located. This is point C on my map. And there's part of a culvert, old rusted out bucket, part of a brick. The road I've been hiking on is right up there where all that blown down, where the blown down tree is. That's where the road is. And if you look at this area over here just to the west, you see all this cut down or blown down and or cut down, and it's real, it's sort of like a little knoll there. It's pretty level. That'd be a perfect spot to put a house. And that's approximately where an old map showed it, so that's probably where it was. The rest of the mountain in through here is pretty steep. I'm going to continue on to the south and look for a spot where I can get up on Skyline Drive. So I'm back up on the road. That's where I came from. Over there is where I think maybe the homestead was. And then I'm going to continue on. Maybe you can see the road there. It's fairly obvious right through there. Two miles into my hike, I'm up to 2640. That's where I came from, and this is the end of the road. So they blocked it off right there with all these goodies, and right up there is Skyline Drive. So I'm gonna get up on Skyline Drive, and wow, it's probably almost 2 miles back to my car, but got to get back there. Here's a 180-degree pan from Hensley Hollow overlook. I'm back up on Skyline Drive, heading back to my car. That's looking to the west. Here's another shot of Hensley Hollow. That's where I was hiking, down in there along an old abandoned road. And the road starts up there about 0.8 of a mile. And the Dean family cemetery is up there on that peak. Still following Skyline Drive back to my car. That's the way I came from. And I just happened to take a close look at this big boulder. I was wondering why this thing was still here next to the road. When you see how most everything else is clear, and then there's this big honking boulder here. Well, it's another survey benchmark. Elevation 2,841 feet, and it's number 108 MLS, and the date is 1963. This is the Dean family cemetery. You can see it's extremely well cared for by the families. Very, very nice. They've even put up a new fence here. So I'll go in and take a few still pics. This is a map of today's hike. The quadrangle name is Elkton East, 1997. And I hiked an old abandoned road inside the park, which I've decided is part of the Hensley Hollow road, which is right here. Like this. This is Skyline Drive coming down from the north. And you park, there's a pull-off here that says Dean Cemetery, but it's a small sign, so it's easy to miss. It's about mile marker 63. If you're coming down from the north, you pull off to the right, and there's a parking lot here, and it's a fairly good-sized parking lot. It's primarily for this Dean family cemetery. I took some pictures of that and included them at the end of this video. It's a very nice cemetery. It's very well maintained by the families. And it turned out, from looking at one of the older maps, Elkton 1937, I discovered that there was an old road that ran down this way like this. And there was also a branch of it that ended up coming down like this and basically going all the way down the side of the mountain. Now this is labeled Hensley Hollow Trail, so I just went ahead and called this the north branch of it. So anyway, you park right here, and then you go about halfway between here and the cemetery, and you'll just jump off into the woods and start going down, descending down into the hollow like this. Now I marked a couple of different spots on the map. This number 2 and number 3 and number 4 that are circled, those are the locations of the old homesteads. So when I got to these locations, I looked around. I did find some evidence of a homestead here at 2. You'll see that in the video. I found an old road that turned off to the right, or maybe it was a driveway even, coming over here. And then points A and B and C and D and F, those are just waypoints, coordinate waypoints that I put into my GPS to help me with my navigation in case I couldn't find the road at all. But once I got down to A, by the time I got down here to point A, the road was pretty apparent. There was some guesswork along the way coming down this way. You'll see it in my GPS track. But you basically follow the drainage, well, a little above the drainage. On the south side of the drainage is where the old road was coming down, like this. And then I followed it on down, let's see, to here. When you get to here, there's an overlook up on Skyline Drive right there. And you can, in the wintertime, if you're standing down here in the hollow, you can look up and actually see it. And then the road just continues on like this until finally the elevation of the old road comes up, and Skyline Drive is coming down in elevation, and they meet right here. So I hiked to here, got up on Skyline Drive, and then I just followed Skyline Drive all the way back like that. It wasn't a real long hike, but the downhill bushwhacking part was kind of hard. It was hard for me to follow the road in a lot of the places. Nature's pretty well reclaimed a lot of it. Anyway, it turned out to be 3.5 miles and 483 feet of ascent. Now going down was descent, but from here all the way back up to my starting point, that's all 100% ascent. And that was the hike for today. I just realized I forgot to show you the old map. I think when I was hiking, I was calling this the 1939 map, but it's actually 1937, Elkton 1937. And as always, these old maps from the 30s, they're to a different scale. An inch on these maps is a lot more distance in real life than on the other ones that I show most of the time. Anyway, right here is where the starting point was. And this is showing a homestead right there, basically where the parking lot is now. Here's the Dean Cemetery. And here's the road descending down into Hensley Hollow. There's another homestead there. There's another homestead there. Now what's not shown on here is when you get down to a certain point, and I just sort of drew it in, there's a branch of this that heads straight on down like this, and eventually you leave the park like that. So there's the old map. That's where I got a lot of my waypoint data from.